But it's like, thank God, like I got out, and thank
Yes,
God,
yes.
like that we got to a place of healing where it's like, okay, I've got good support system, I've got community, I've got therapists, I've got medication, I've got supplements, I've got these modalities, I've got all these different options available to me now to where I can heal and I can take care of myself and that I can help my children because there is more to that story.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammy. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast, everybody. Today you're here with Victoria Ellen. As much as we keep saying this, we wish we weren't having to highlight Domestic Violence Awareness Month because we wish it wasn't a thing, but we are incredibly grateful for the people who are joining us, and Victoria Ellen is one of those. She wrote a book called Painting in the Rain, which goes into so much more detail than we can cover in one podcast about her story and overcoming and what she went through. Ultimately, Victoria shares with us the story of meeting her spouse at a very young age, finding out she was pregnant, deciding to get married because of societal pressures and pressures that she was taught growing up, that is the right thing to do, is to be married before you have children. And then dives deep into the uncovering of how she figured out that she was actually in an abusive relationship, how it escalated from emotional and mental abuse to physical abuse to not only her, but also her children, and sexual abuse. It is heart-wrenching. She is like Melissa used this she talked about this idea of crabs in a bucket, which I know we've all heard that before, but really truly she is the crab that climbed out, and now she's going to other buckets and helping other crabs get out too. And it's really beautiful, and we cannot wait to share this story with you, and we're so grateful for you for joining us, Victoria. Thank you. Hey, Victoria, welcome to the podcast. We want to ask you, Victoria, I know that you've written your book, Painting in the Rain, which talks a lot about your story in an abusive relationship. Can we backtrack in your relationship and talk about kind of how it started and how the story started for you in terms of kind of getting into that relationship and then where the abuse began?
Yes, so I was a sophomore in college and ended up meeting someone who I kind of fell head over heels for and said all of the right things and kind of the love bombing and just really the cycle, and ended up finding out less than a year later that I was pregnant. And so in my world, I was an only child. My mother was an only child, so I was the only grandchild. Got lots of attention, and my father was also a pastor. So I pretty much came crashing down from this, place of, you need to live this very perfect life under a microscope. Even though we know that no one's perfect, there was a lot of pressure. And so I felt like I needed to do the right thing, inverted commas. And, I ended up getting married to the man that I was dating and quickly found out that I had made the wrong decision, but didn't feel like after I had made such a stink about this being, the person I was supposed to marry and, that we were going to live this wonderful life happily ever after, finding out that he was not who he said he was a rude awakening. And I just did not feel like I should burden my family with that, especially since I was an only child and I had already, done things out of order according to the standards that I was raised by. So I just endured the abusive relationship, and it didn't start out wild abuse, but there were signs literally from day one moving forward. But I didn't know they were signs because I was not familiar with domestic violence.
That must have been like incredibly hard to, if you were like convicted that this is the thing you need to do, to then find out it's not the thing that you should have done. And trying to not only admit that to people, but to yourself, I'm sure was a lot.
It was really difficult. I grappled with the decision and tried to figure out, is this just because okay, let me just backtrack for a
Of
moment,
course.
ladies. Within about 10 days, I moved. I moved into the house with my soon to be husband, so we weren't married. I got married, I moved, I had a baby, all within about 7 to 10 days.
Oh, wow.
Holy
Okay.
smokes.
That's a lot going on.
Became really estranged from some of my family because I basically wrote a letter and said, "Hey, by the way, I know I'm 9 months pregnant, I'm overdue, but I'm about to have this baby, so I'm just going to go ahead and get married." And I packed up my car and moved into the house the same day that I married him. And then 5 days later, they induced me, and 2 days later, I had a baby.
So this was like a very last minute decision to get married before the baby was born. It wasn't like ahead of time. It was very last minute.
That's correct. And there were some signs, but of course, red flags are not red flags because we want to figure out how to make it work and we want to fix it. And maybe it's me and, I can help him and I can make this better. And even though a lot of people were trying to help me and even saw things that I did not see, I really was deceived. And so I didn't believe them.
Were people coming to you and seeing the signs as well and coming to you and saying, I see some signs here? Or did that happen later?
So great question, Melissa. I had some people that were really close to me, like very dear friends of mine, that said, we love you. And because we love you, we want to share with you kind of what we're seeing. But I labeled it all kinds of things because I really didn't want to hear the truth. And I felt like I was stuck. And even now, I mean, I'm 46 years old and I'm still dealing with the trauma of what happened 26 years ago. But even now, it's like when you have that trapped feeling and you feel like there's no way out, you really need to just pause. There's power in the pause. And you need to remember, like, okay, people love me and they care about me. So they're sticking their neck out there, per se, to have this difficult conversation with the thought that there might be backlash, but they love you enough to tell you the truth. And at that time, I was so young, I really couldn't understand their, reaching for me and trying to help me find a way out.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
think even if you were older, I think it doesn't matter when you're in that moment of this is the right choice, this is the right person. It doesn't matter what somebody says, you're not going to believe them because you've convinced yourself, right? Like they don't know your relationship, they don't know anything about you, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're missing all this information, right? So,
and did you feel a pull or a draw to protect him from his own reputation with your people?
Oh, absolutely. And if you know anything about the narcissist, they're always the victim. And so, growing up the way that I grew up, and now, I'm a lot more understanding about some of the steps that led me on this path. But with that being said, I felt like, oh my gosh, maybe he's right. Maybe people are just racist because my first husband was African American. So, and I grew up in a very rural environment, and people were like, he's horrible, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. And he's like, it's just because they're all bigots, they're racists, they're this, they're that. And I'm like, of course they are. I didn't even think about that before now, but you're exactly right. That's what it is. So it didn't have anything to do with his lack of character or his lack of integrity or the fact that he was hiding things or that he was dishonest. It was all about the fact that he was African American and that everyone was against him. So that just kind of parlayed into the isolation that began happening after I married him. Because then, as we all know, the narcissist begins to cut you off from your family and from your friends and anyone that would speak truth or honesty into you because they know that they're going to be exposed.
I mean, that's a whole other level on top of it. Like to add, like, no, but for real, like to add in like just a general relationship. Like if you're both the same ethnicity or, closer, it's like that's not going to play in as much. People can't put that on there, right? But when you're different races, you're 100% going to just blame they're just racist. They're just opposed to
Mm-hmm.
this interracial relationship. 100%. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even. That's like a whole other level of
He
stuff put on you.
he had something to hang his hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that you can't really argue with, or he's going to blame you of being that. Like you couldn't really. Oh gosh, you had said earlier. You said steps that led you on the path. So there's two things there. Like there's also going back further before you met him, and I'm sure there are steps along the way. But I love when you said that steps along the path. I wonder if you could walk us through some of those first warning signs that you can look back on now, and also how you kind of rectified those in your mind.
Sure. So I think initially one of the things that stood out to me was the secrecy. Everything's a secret.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, things that don't even need to be a secret. Birth dates, anniversaries, where he went to school or what classes he took or, what grades he, earned. Like wild things that just the normal person wouldn't think needed to be a secret. That was definitely a red flag. And I think I just tried to let that go because we were early in the relationship and I just felt like, well, he's probably been hurt in the past, so he doesn't really want to fully disclose all of these things, and that's okay. Like I enjoy my privacy, so sure. So that's kind of how I reasoned that away. Another sign was the dishonesty. And um it'd be like he'd tell a story. Oh, I'm in school. I'm in college. These are the classes I'm taking. This is my major. He even had like books, like college books in his car. But I later found out that he was never even in college, never even enrolled in college.
So
I mean,
he just bought these books to sell the story? Oh
yeah.
my god. That's a
I
whole
mean,
level. That's another
oh,
level.
yeah, it's another level of crazy that we're dealing with. I mean, so the dishonesty started there, but it just continued and ultimately created this persona, this life that not while I was married to him, but after I divorced him later on, he became the quote Prince of Ghana, Africa. So he disguised himself as royalty. He became a pastor. He also became the CEO of basically a company out of Africa that did biofuel refinery and like literally traveled all over the world and did all of these crazy things. But I mean, none of them were true. None of them were true. Um, so, he started off early creating this false persona of who he wanted people to believe him to be. But I was just the very first one, I was the first person that he really tried to lay this on thick with. And, obviously we ended up having two children. So from that marriage, so the lies continued. He said he had jobs at places where he didn't have jobs. And of course, he was in complete control of all of the finances, so I wasn't able to see anything. And then, your lights start getting shut off and your water is getting shut off. Meanwhile, you're enduring, all of this abuse. And you start with, of course, just the mental abuse and the emotional abuse, which just parlays into physical abuse and then abusing of your children. So, I mean, it just starts this avalanche. And then once it gains momentum, you really feel so out of control. There's literally nowhere to stop it. I mean, you just don't know what to do.
Holy smokes. That's like, there's a piece of me that would just love to be in his brain for just like 2 minutes, just to figure out, like, how are you convincing yourself of this?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
wild.
fully undiagnosed, but of course, I've been in therapy for close to 20 years now. And it's an illness that I believe is called narcissistic personality disorder. And so they have like this grandiose opinion of themselves. They believe that they're above the law. The rules and the laws do not apply to them. They often consider themselves royalty or align themselves with royalty. And so he literally just took the ball and ran with it. And instead of just like picking one, he was a litany of things and created all these aliases and fake names. And ultimately, that's why I ended up working with the Secret Service to end up bringing justice to him because he had conned so many people out of, hundreds and thousands of dollars.
That's wild.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. We have to dig into that. But I want to just backtrack for 1 second. From the time he told you that he was in school and he had these books and he was doing these things until you found out that that was a lie. Do you know approximately how long that was?
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that until the Secret Service ended up working on the case like over 20 years later. I,
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
yeah, so the whole time I was married, I thought that he had been enrolled in school. I thought that he had gotten his okay, so he said he was a private trainer at a gym because he was a bodybuilder. And so I thought that he had gone to school to get his certificate to become a private trainer, but that was a lie. I mean, I didn't know that those things weren't true at all when I was married to him until much later. Yeah.
Oh my
Your mind must have been blown when you found that out.
It's, I can't even begin to have a word to articulate it right now because still to this day, I look back and I mean, I do a lot of podcasts, do a lot of interviews, I do a lot of speaking engagements, meet with a lot of people that are experiencing narcissism. And I still am in shock by this entire story and how okay, here's another lie. You asked me about lies. Okay.
Okay.
So pictures of him when he was young, and I don't know if anybody saw the Hulu show that I was on regarding my story, but
but
No, but what
Lacey
is it?
Lacey Mosley is the host, and it dropped in February. It's called Scam Goddess. And the episode that we were on was called The Royal Racket, tongue in cheek. But it was so funny because some of the things that I talked to them about in that documentary, and even pictures that I showed during that show, were my ex-husband while we were married. And he's an African American man. He had long hair at the time, and it was straight, like stick straight. And so I asked him, I'm like, this is wild that you have straight hair. And I'm thinking, like, maybe our baby's gonna have straight hair because I have straight hair. And like, wow. And why do you think you have straight hair? And he's like, oh, he was like, because he said, I actually have American Indian, and, my ethnic background. And so that's, why I have straight hair. And I'm like, oh, and totally like naive and buying everything that he says. And then I'm married, and then fast forward, a member of his family actually was a hairdresser, and she told me that she permed his hair and that his hair is actually crazy curly and that she perms it for him so it would be straight.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I
What?
mean, it's so wild. Ladies, I'm telling you, it's like stuff you don't even have to lie about. Like,
Right?
he had to have a story for everything. Like, if
Oh
you
my
could
God.
just say, like, my hair's curly, but I straighten it. I mean, because people would have been like, dude, that's so weird. Why are you straightening your hair? Like, you know what I mean? This is 2000. This is 1999, dude. Like, nobody straightens their hair. You're not Prince. Like, stop, you know?
Uh,
But no, he had to have a story. Yeah.
Oh
oh my
my
gosh.
gosh. I
Welcome to my world,
Oh
ladies.
my
We
gosh.
have only scraped the surface.
I appreciate that we
Oh
can laugh in this current conversation about domestic violence like this. I mean, like,
seriously.
obviously it's not a laughing matter, but that's pretty
But that's
comical.
absurd.
It's
That is
absurd.
absurd.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it continued. That behavior continued throughout our marriage, throughout his life after me. I mean, this is why just the lies, the incessant lying just went to another level. I mean, that's why ultimately I got sentenced to jail because he continued to lie
What?
about our children. He lied about
Oh
me.
my
I
gosh.
mean, this is why I have a book because it's just insane what he was able to accomplish through coercive control, lying, violence, domestic violence, abuse, manipulation, all of it really controlled my entire life.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
Can you
smokes.
take us through just if somebody is listening and they have never heard of coercive control before, or maybe somebody listening who's in the thick of being victim of coercive control and has no idea what it is. Can you explain what coercive control is to somebody who's like, pretend it's like we are fresh, we have no idea what you're talking about. What is coercive control?
So basically, it's an individual that's utilizing their power or their resources to control or manipulate a situation for someone else that ultimately would cause you harm or financial distress or defamation of character, like something that would make you look bad and utilizing either the justice system or their money or something in order to take over your life. So, a quick example is I was a single mom when I divorced him with two children, not receiving child support. And I really didn't have money to even live on. So, I was on food stamps, Medicaid, the system, the whole nine yards just to function. But he utilized his money to continually take me back to court over and over and over again. And one of the reasons was because number one, I got out. I wasn't supposed to. He threatened to take me and he threatened to take my life. And so my son, he would spare him, but I wasn't going to get out. So that part of just the mental anguish and worrying whether or not you're going to be able to stay alive and be able to protect your children, but then utilizing the court system to force me to have to see him. So I didn't want to have anything to do with him. I never wanted to see him again. I just wanted to be away. But now that he's got the courts involved, he's forcing me every single time we have a hearing or a trial or a deposition or whatever we've got to do. It's like I have to go and I have to show up and I have to see him. And not only is that causing me like more emotional stress and mental damage, but it's also draining my bank account. And I didn't have the money to protect myself. So, like, other people are going to have to help me. My family's going to have to step up. Something's going to have to happen because I can't just not show up because then there's going to be consequences at a legal level.
Yep.
So
Yep.
constantly controlling you, and that's thereby coercive control.
Oh my
Cheapers.
gosh.
Can we back to talking about like, so there was the lying and there's emotional control and mental abuse, and then you mentioned that physical abuse started to happen. Can you talk about for us when that, like, how long into relationship that started happening and like what that,
Shift.
I guess, shift from mental and emotional to physical ended up being for you?
Yeah, so once you get to a point where you're so beat down emotionally and mentally, um, it's my personal opinion that these narcissistic individuals or people who are perpetrators of domestic violence, they know that they have you beat down. And if you try to think for yourself, then they start telling you that you're crazy and that what you believe to be real isn't real. And you really should seek help because you're mentally not stable. And then you start playing this guessing game in your mind of, well, maybe I am crazy and what's wrong with me? And then it's, but I love you so much. I do anything for you, Victoria. I'm just trying to be a good father. And, you just don't appreciate things. And it's just lies that they're planting and seeds that they're planting to tear you down and to wreck your self confidence and just make you feel even more insecure. than you already do. And then certain things started happening where, I would try to leave the house and he would just physically restrain me, like holding me down and sitting on top of me and holding my arms and like just things that are like sick. Like I would just be like, just punch me in the face. Just go ahead and get it over with. Like, because it was almost more anguish for me to deal with the constant trapped feeling that restraining me and just holding me down and not letting me up. And then, like, hiding my keys and locking the door and blocking the door and grabbing a hold of me and just like saying, "You're not safe to drive. I'm concerned about your well being," and those types of things, which I didn't even know that, like, not letting someone leave their home is called false imprisonment. I like didn't it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like had I known, I could have called the police like 15 times, but I didn't know that him just physically restraining me or blocking the doors or stealing my keys or like, pulling me back into the house and like, literally sitting on top of me was abuse. And then by this point, I've got a 2-year-old and he's covered in bruises. And let's not forget that, we were very heavily involved in church. And so I met him in a church. And so now we're going to use like these biblical scriptures to manipulate the truth and to make you and this child submit. So it's, the Bible says wives submit to their husbands, and the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't say beat your child and leave bruises on him. He's a baby. And at that time, I started seeing bruises. He was a year old, year and a half old. And so I'm scared to death because he's holding me down. And I've got, marks on me just from him holding me down. But of course, now my son has bruises on him. So, like, if we go to church, then I'm not even allowed to put him in the nursery because God forbid someone would change his diaper and see that he's got bruises on him. So now it's just more of that anguish and that mental, game. And then again, using the Bible and scripture to manipulate the truth. And so it's just this wicked web, a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? And you just feel so out of control, you don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh. I'm first and foremost so sorry that you experienced all of that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I know you've shared things that you've experienced, but I think as a parent, and I'm not speaking from experience, just I'm trying to put myself in that position a little bit, is like you feel like you can handle it, but when it happens to your kids, it's different. It's a whole other level, right? Like that's how do you can't, yeah, like I just feel like your heart must have broken so much more seeing that kind of stuff.
It really did. And I'll tell you, Sammy, I felt like I was already in a stuck between a rock and a hard place. But after my son was born, and then starting to see him display signs not only of sexual abuse, but seeing the visual signs of physical abuse, I was just I didn't know what to do. And part of this time, I was estranged from my family because he
Mm.
completely isolated me from them because, inverted commas, they were negative and we don't need negativity in our lives. And so we only need people in our lives that support us. And so that would be his family, right? And so now I've isolated myself from my world and my support system. And now my phone calls are being monitored and the mileage on my car is being watched. And, text messages were just starting at that time. And it's, why are you texting this person, in my family? Why are you talking to, you were on the phone for 15 minutes. What do you need to talk about for 15 minutes? And then I'm trying to figure out like what in the world I'm going to do with my son. And I told my best friend, I mean, this is all in the book, but that he was being physically abused and that I had talked to Daryl about it. And there was no slowing that down, no changing that. He wasn't going to change. And then I just needed to understand that he was being a father and he's the head of his house and that's what he's supposed to do. And so I started like plotting, like, how am I going to get out of this? And then I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter. And I'm like, you're freaking kidding right now.
Shit.
Like you're freaking kidding. And that's another thing, like with your body, it's not your body. When you're dealing with someone like this, you signed up to marry me. We are in a covenant and I own you now. So you don't get to have sex when you want to have sex. Your body is not your body. We're married. You have to give yourself to me or I'll take it. So, that whole mental anguish around all of that and the sexual violence was unbearable. I was so unstable at that time. And so you don't even really know what's right and wrong because if you start thinking like this is wrong, I know this is wrong, like in my heart of hearts, but then he's taking scripture and trying to manipulate it, to you. And then you're like, all I want to do is please God. And like, I just want to be a good person and I just want to go to heaven someday if I die, like when I die. And then he's telling you, like, there's no shot. You're on this slip and slide to hell because you're this horrible wife and you don't do what I tell you to do. Like, it's cult. It's just all a cult, but you don't know you're in that. And so once I was pregnant with my daughter, the abuse continued. And then my son started displaying signs of sexual abuse.
Oh,
And that's when I was like, okay, check, please. We're out of here. And so I escaped when I was pregnant with my daughter.
oh my gosh.
So you guys were married for like just like 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Let's just pause. We're
that
pausing
must
because holy shit. Like I'm
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
sorry. Like it's just
It's okay.
that's terrifying.
terrifying. There's so many levels of terrifying for you, for your children. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're pregnant, and like, and I mean, I don't want to speak this at you, but I'm guessing that your husband is attracted to a female, hence why you've ended up together. Now he's sexually abusing your male son, and then you're pregnant with another kid. Like, what if it's a girl?
Okay, so
You
all the
know?
things, Amy, you're literally, we're tracking together. So, first of all, um, I had several people tell me that they thought that he was gay prior to us getting married. And while we were married, I ended up exposing like he was wearing makeup. And I don't know a lot of like heterosexual men that wear makeup. Maybe you do. It's 2025. Anything goes today, but this is like 2000. So this is a much different world in 2000. So I ended up exposing him like wearing makeup and I didn't know that he was wearing makeup. Back to the whole like hair situation. It was like he was wearing makeup, dyeing his eyebrows, like eyeliner, like the whole 9 yards and like just like I mean his eyebrows were arched better than mine and people were like seriously Victoria like there's something going on here. So like everyone already thought he was gay. Then when we were married, I found pictures of inappropriate pictures of a man in his car, and he said that he was going to connect him with a modeling agency in New York. That's why he had these like nude photos of this other man. And so, like all of these signs, so now my son's being abused, and then now I know I'm having a girl, so I'm like, my mind is all over the place. Like, all bets are off. Like, this guy is just, he is a perpetrator, and he is going to prey on anybody that he can. It doesn't matter, male, female, child, adult, it does not matter. He's going to take advantage of you.
That is so freaking dangerous.
Uh-huh.
Like, was this the moment? Obviously, because this is like you escaped when you were pregnant with your daughter. Was that the moment when you were like, okay, like this is go time? Was that it,
Oh yeah,
or were there many kind of steps towards that?
well, there were steps toward it, but after I brought up the sexual abuse to him and to his family, and I saw the way that he responded to me, and then I started really processing the fact that they wouldn't let anyone else be around my son. And they kept saying, like, you can't just have your children in daycare anywhere because they can sexually abuse them. And there's things that they can do to them that aren't really that won't show physical signs of sexual abuse. Like there are things that they can do that you can't see. And so, with that being said, then I started really thinking, like, well, why would they tell me that if no one else even gets to be around my kids? Like, they're the only ones that see my kids. And so then when my son started displaying this behavior that was very sexualized behavior as a 2-year-old, and there was no reason that he would ever see anything like that in my under my care, why was he basically duplicating or replicating behavior? Well, because that's what had been performed on him. That's why. So, fast forward through 3.5 years of litigation and my son's testimony, he had, over the course of 6 years, so birth to 6 years old, he had six sexual perpetrators. My ex-husband was one of them, along with his entire family. And my daughter was 3 years old, and the court ordered for her to do overnights with him. I had no idea at that time that my husband was actually the sexual perpetrator. I thought it was people in his family, and my husband was remarried, so I thought my daughter was going to be protected because the new wife was there. But unbeknownst to me, they had separated. So the very first overnight that my two kids did, my daughter came home at 3 years old with visual signs of sexual abuse, and my son was 6 with visual signs of sexual abuse. And now, like, I mean, everything that I did to try to protect them is all for naught because, I mean, now their lives are over and they're 3 and 6, and their innocence has been stolen. Once again, I have failed to protect them. I had no idea that it
Oh,
was him. He was the monster. I didn't know it was him. I thought that it was people in his family. I didn't know it was him. And so, of course, I go and report it. And of course, I'm the crazy, vindictive ex-wife that just is wanting to try to stick it to my ex-husband. And so they don't believe me. And they said, oh, well, the next time you send them, you'll need to go to the Mayerson Clinic and have them do a rape kit. But since you didn't do that this time, and I just said, well, let me just explain something to you, officer. There will never be a next time. There will never be a next time. I don't care if I have to shave my head, change my name, move to another
oh my
country,
God.
find a new life. There will never be a next time. And that was in 2006. And I can assure you there was never a next time. They never went back. I mean, of course, I went through hell. I went through 10 years of litigation to protect my children. I was sentenced to jail for contempt because I didn't send my children. I did everything I could to protect them moving forward. We started therapy. We were in therapy for 13 years. Um, my son had such severe sexual abuse and domestic violence that they said that he would never be able to be in mainstream classes. He was on antipsychotics from the time he was 5 years old because I found him trying to commit suicide. Um, so at 5, with a belt around his neck from trauma. I mean, this guy is a monster. I don't think people understand like the effects that abuse has on you, and then like making it worse as a parent, like knowing like you're the one that picked this piece of crap, like, and then now you've
Oh,
got the guilt and the shame, and like you should have known, you should have, like, what were you thinking, like when he was beating you or when he was sexually abusing you, like you should have known. Well, I didn't know he was a pedophile. Like, I met the guy at church. Like, I had no way of knowing. Like, he said all the right things, he did all the right things. I thought it was okay. So you really do have to like stop for a moment and just go like, there's evil people in this world. And there's nothing that you did wrong by thinking that you were going to marry someone and live happily ever after. Like, you don't sign up for a monster. It happens to you. So, I mean, I know that was so long. I'm
mm-mm,
so sorry. I kind of went off on a
mm-mm.
tangent, but I just wanted to explain it all because abuse takes on many different forms, and domestic violence and domestic abuse can look so complicated and it fits in a lot of different holes. And so, whoever is listening, like, if any of this has resonated with you, you are a victim of domestic violence, but you can be a survivor. You can get out. You can start a new life. You can get through therapy. You can heal. You can create new neural pathways to healing so that you can live the life that you were supposed to live before this. And you can go into the fire and pull other people out and help them too.
Yes. Oh my God, Victoria. I just can't. All of the weight that is on
Mm.
you, and I'm sure like you've done therapy and it's gotten better, but like, especially at that time that was on you, like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm so sorry you've had to carry that weight.
It's okay.
I'm
It's a lot,
s-
you know? It is a lot.
Mm.
And it's wild that I'm crazy enough to put my story into a book. I mean, who does that, right? I mean, the
Oh.
fact that I would put all of this into a book, it just shows that I'm just desperately trying to create a blueprint for other people so that they don't have to stay in that situation. Like,
Mhm.
I not that I'm anything to look at, ladies. It's not that. It's just, I always say, like, I don't look like what I've been through because I really should look like 50 miles of bad back road. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I should look like hell by now, you know? But it's like, thank God, like, I got out. And thank
Yes.
God, like, that we got to a place of healing where it's like, okay, I've got good support system. I've got community. I've got therapists, I've got medication, I've got supplements, I've got these modalities, I've got all these different options available to me now to where I can heal and I can take care of myself and that I can help my children because there is more to that story. And, it doesn't have to be a life sentence. It
Mhm.
doesn't. Like, you can come out of this and be just as strong, if not stronger, than you were before the situation happened to you.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I
I
wanna.
do.
Sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
Sorry, Sammy. I was going to say, I do want to double back on that.
Mm.
I also want to say, I want to point out something that you said. Like, it's so, when you were just saying just now about how complex it is and how many levels to it there are. And I will say, it's very difficult to wrap this into one conversation, and know kind of, what direction do we head in, and what, it's very difficult. And the reason it's so difficult is because there's so many layers to it. You are like, when you said that, I was like, yes, absolutely. Like, it's so complex. But I think what you just described it so, you were, you so articulately described the complexity of it. And I'm in awe of you. I really am. I
Thank
I
you.
would like to ask you, and I'm really glad that you did write the book because it's so complex. Like, there is just absolutely no way to wrap all of this into one episode of a conversation. There's no way that you can do it in one conversation. You just can't. There's too much to it. And I'm so grateful that you did write the book. I want to ask you what you are, I kind of want to go two ways, Sammy, and interrupt me if this is not where you wanted to go. But I wanted to ask you, I do want to double back to what you were saying about your children. You said there's more to it and we can double back. I would love to double back. And I also want to ask you what you're doing now, and your book. You said it's a blueprint for people to get out, which I think is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful motivation. And I think that's just, like I said, I commend you. I would like to know what you're doing now. You said you do lots of speaking engagements and you're clearly passionate about helping other people get out of this. What are you doing now? How are you going about that?
Well, it's kind of fun because I get contacted a lot, just because my book is out there to come and do book signings or like a Q&A or a meet and greet, meet the author, those types of things. So I do a lot of like women's groups or even library engagements or just special events. Obviously, being on Hulu, ABC contacted me last year And so I agreed to be on that show. And, a lot of people, kind of reach out to me because of that. I'm on social media, so I have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, a little bit on TikTok, but basically, I'm just trying to like spread knowledge and information and help people that find themselves in these situations. And it's been really fun having people reach out to me directly through DMs. Um, Wild this world of social media that we're in because people don't really comment very often on things I post, but the amount of private DMs or private messages that I get is amazing. And people really don't know how to navigate the court system just because it is so complex. And quite honestly, my personal opinion is that we need massive reform within the domestic relations courts. And so, TBD on that, what I might do there to try to help with maybe some new laws in my state, but also just like, the story is crazy and it happened to have pretty much a ripple effect and it was covered, nationally. And so might be looking at a movie, an opportunity for that to come. So looking at that has been really fun. And then also just continuing to help people one on one and then, doing the speaking engagements. I mean, it feels like I actually am turning lemons into lemonade because I could have sat around and just felt sorry for myself and been a victim. But instead, I've just chosen to like blaze this trail and try to use my voice, the voice that was taken from me, the voice that I was never allowed to use, the voice that was hampered and told to not speak. I mean, funny fun fact here, I'm actually a vocalist. I trained in opera in college. And I love to sing. Like that was what I always said when I was a little girl. Like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? Is like, I'm gonna sing, like I'm gonna be a singer, It's like, oh, I figured I can't live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so I gotta get a real job. But it's funny that they tried to take my voice. He tried to shut me up. He tried to silence me. And no longer, no longer can he silence me. He can't silence my children. And the story is out there now for forever. It's all in a book. And for generations to come, hopefully, like my children and my children's children and their children will be able to look back and be like, wait, that was horrible. But she made it through and she went out and helped other people get through, their tough time too.
And she changed our trajectory. She changed it.
Yes.
You did
Yes,
that.
absolutely. I did that. I did that, Sammy. I'm
Yes.
breaking these generational curses. I'm doing the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I really want to ask, and this is a hard question to ask, but the reason I want to ask it is because, and you can veto this question if you want to, but is because if there's someone listening who is like, oh, like I do see some of those, but I think when we can be more descriptive about certain things, it can help someone be like, oh shit, I have seen those. And that is, again, like I said, you can veto this, but when your children came home and you saw signs of abuse in them, can you tell us what those signs of abuse were?
Sure. So, any time your children are in a situation where you feel like there could be some type of abuse going, um, I just really encourage you to make sure that you are doing a full body check of them, like when they come back. Um, and anything, you know, anything. So bruises that seem, you know, that don't align with maybe I fell down and skinned my knee when I was riding my bike kind of bruises. Um, and also like especially for little girls, any type of blood in their underwear. Obviously, that's not something that you would see in a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or 5-year-old. So something like that. And if your children are complaining of any pain in their genitals anywhere or on their bottom, bruising on their bottoms, anything like that. All of those things, are signs of sexual abuse. And it's amazing. My children were very descriptive in their terminology with just the small vernacular that they had as 3 and 6 year olds to be able to articulate what happened to them. But as an adult, you know exactly what that means. They don't have the vernacular for it, but you know what that means. And so asking questions of them. But I will say, one of the things that why that police officer said that they couldn't do a rape kit was because the children had come home and they had bathed before they went to bed that night. And so the DNA would be washed away. But also, like, perpetrators are very calculated. So if your children say things like, well, they put something on me and it burned my skin or it burned my bottom, it's probably because they used like rubbing alcohol
Oh,
to try to clean their skin. So, and to destroy evidence. Um, so there can be fissures as well, if there's any type of sodomy. So these are all things that you can't see, but obviously you want to make sure that you get them immediately to a doctor for examination.
Oh my goodness.
I just, it makes me sick that that even has to be, that you know those things and that anybody has to actually be aware of those things. It just makes me absolutely sick. Like,
We
Yeah,
just
it
poor
is. It's not
babies.
easy.
I can't even fathom it. Like it's heartbreaking is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely heartbreaking. Through education and just this vulnerability that we have, I love how Brene Brown coined that phrase that vulnerability creates connection. And it really, really does, because if we don't tell our stories, then other people feel alone. I felt so alone, and I just don't want anybody else to feel alone like I did. We are here to help you, and there are plenty of other people that are ready, willing, and able to give you the support that you need to get out of a situation like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Can I ask how your kids are doing now?
Yes, you can ask that. I'm happy to report on my kids. They're amazing. Um, so first of all, my son, who was never supposed to be mainstreamed, he actually ended up being mainstreamed. He graduated from high school, super excited, but not only did he graduate, he got multiple track scholarship offers for track and field. And he ended up going to college on a track and field scholarship, which only 1% of people ever even get an offer for a track and field scholarship at that level. And he graduated 2 years ago from college with his bachelor's degree, and he bought his first home last year, and he is thriving, living an amazing life, and just making a big impact where he is. So I'm super, super proud of him. He has not let anything slow him down. And then my daughter, she is she, that little girl, it's like I was pregnant with her and I did everything I could to save her. And I thought, great, now I've screwed it all up and, her life's ruined. She ended up um, getting an appointment to the United States Coast Guard Academy, and she will graduate as an officer in the class of 2026. So she's pretty much a bad mama jam. I'm going to be like her when I grow up. So if you don't know what the Coast Guard Academy is, it's like West Point or the Naval Academy or the Air Force Academy. So you have to go through this rigorous application process, and there are only like 250 cadets in her graduating class. So she's one of like 125 females in that class that will graduate next year. And
Very
it's
cool.
pretty spectacular. I'm so proud of them. They're awesome. And she told her story. I should tell you this. Um, the Coast Guard Academy and the Naval Academy have this awesome program where it's like my Coast Guard story or my Naval Academy story, where cadets can apply to be able to tell like their story of how they, came to the academies and like what they've experienced in their life and overcome to be able to get there. And so last year, she was chosen to share her story in front of the entire Corps of Cadets, along with like the top brass, all these admirals. It was incredible. There's like in the auditorium at the Coast Guard Academy, it's like 1,500 people. And she told her story, which explains sexual abuse and everything she went through and how she's overcome it. And there was not a dry eye in the house, ladies. Standing ovation. It was incredible. I mean, chills on top of chills, just even like thinking about it. But at that time, it was energy. It was electric in that room. And she's the president now of Cadets Against Sexual Assault at the Academy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yay. That's awesome.
goosebumps. Oh my
I
gosh.
want to say that it's probably a lot to do
Wow.
with you. I mean, I shouldn't say probably. It's definitely a lot to do with you that your kids feel empowered to share their stories too.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
Mhm.
I hope so. But they've done the hard work. I mean, you have to make a decision to, either be a victim or be a victor. And they're victorious in every
Yeah.
area. They just will not accept defeat. So, but thank you for that. Thank you.
I just think like
Um,
because I know they had to do their own work, but because you've okayed speaking about it, it's just like when you share, when that vulnerability creates connection. If someone makes it okay to share the story, the next person feels okay to share their story, and
mhm.
Yeah.
so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
what I
agree
mean
with
by
that.
that. Yeah. You had talked about that you had to do some jail time because you wouldn't give your kids to them. Can you speak about how long that was, like what happened and where your kids were while you were in jail?
So there are a few things that I try not to get too detailed on because it is in the book.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I was sentenced to 5 days in jail. And that was because they found me in contempt of court for my kids not going. So yeah, dot dot dot. It's
Totally. Yeah.
in painting in the rain, so they can read about some of the details there. Crazy
Mhm.
times, Sammy. Crazy times.
Yeah. No
Wow.
kidding. No kidding.
Wow. And we're going to put in the show notes, we're going to put a link to all the things, the Hulu and your book in the show notes, because we really encourage
Awesome.
our listeners to go watch and go read. And I know what I'm watching tonight. Like,
Well,
wow.
I
Yeah.
just want to tell you, if you're gonna watch Hulu, like be prepared for the fun version because
Awesome.
Lacey Mosley, if you're not familiar with her, she's a comedian and she's awesome. She's actually on the show Going Dutch that just started another season. But she took this crazy story and made it actually tongue in cheek a little bit. And she made him look like the clown that he is, and it's actually
Yes.
fabulous. So you'll enjoy the fun side of it. And my kids are actually in that show too. They were interviewed and did just a stellar job. They're amazing. So yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to watch it. I can't
Same.
wait to watch it. I'm doing it tonight.
I want to check that out too. Um, this is kind of jumping forward a bit, but I want to ask, talking about dealing with mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse that you dealt with going through this relationship. Can you tell us what it was like for you coming out of that and moving forward into new relationships?
Very, very good question. Super difficult. Um, you don't trust yourself. Not only do you not trust other people, but you don't trust yourself to make good decisions because clearly, like, look at my track record. Like, I must not, my picker is broken. So you just feel like you don't know what you're doing, and then you're scared to death to trust anyone else. And you really just want to protect your children. And so it's honestly just a mission to get stronger and to empower yourself to handle life because for 3 years I really wasn't able to manage my own life. Someone else told me what I was supposed to be doing all of the time. And, really just hitting the reset button and finding community, whether that is, you know, through community organizations, through volunteer places, through safe houses, through church outreaches. Like there are a lot of different options out there where you can find a community of people to help support you in your goal. And there's a lot of single parents out there too. So I kind of felt like I was the square peg in a round hole because I was the single mom. And really, now there are so many people that are single parents. There is no shame anymore, but I lived with a lot of shame and guilt over everything. And I just decided that I was so young at the time. I mean, when I left him, I was 23 years old with two children. I mean, I was young. So I thought, I've got my whole life ahead of me. I need to put the work into healing because I'm going to be here on the earth anyway. You might as well just make the best of it. And, whatever I was supposed to do originally, I'm going to just keep going and figure out what that is because I don't want to be here for the next 50 or 60 years and being miserable. That's a
Mm.
long time. I was miserable for 3 years, and I can't begin to imagine what the rest of my life's going to look like if I can't figure this out. So, yeah, I just really latched on to anyone and everyone that showed support for me and tried to focus on therapy, um, trying to take care of my mental health any way that I could and surrounding myself with people that encouraged me. And if they didn't encourage me to try to get into that new me, the new evolved me, then they had to get left behind because I didn't have the bandwidth or the energy to manage those relationships anymore.
Yeah. Good for
Wow.
you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask you if you were able to rebuild your connection in your relationship with your family after being estranged from them.
I did. Yes, absolutely. So that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Amazing.
goodness.
Yeah.
Amazing. Your
I see a
family.
ring on your finger. So
I
you're
was just going to
remarried
ask that
now.
too.
Yes, so I found Prince Charming finally.
Yay.
I had a few more bumps along the way. It's in the book. No need to talk about it today, but I did find like an amazing man. He actually he adopted my kids and he is their
Oh,
dad. It
yay.
only took us 7 years and going to the Ohio Supreme Court and getting new case law written in our names. But ultimately, yeah, he adopted my kids. He's a wonderful father, an incredible husband, my biggest cheerleader. He's just, I can't even begin to tell you like how blessed I am. I feel like I hit the lottery.
Yay. Oh
That's
my
incredible.
gosh. That's
Well, we're
amazing.
incredibly like thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for I know you say you speak to people all the time, but I feel like there's maybe a piece of it that when you're sharing with complete strangers all these intimate things that it's I don't know, it's maybe a piece of overcoming to share this intimate story with total strangers, but we're really grateful because we are honored to take the time to highlight Domestic Violence Awareness Month this year. And like I know we talked about this on our discovery call, Victoria, but just the fact that we think it can be labeled to certain classes of people or certain types of people or whatever, and it doesn't. It's sprawls
Mhm.
everybody, right? It sprawls all of them. And if we don't raise awareness to that piece and we don't let people know that that's the case, then it's still that judgment gets put on it. So thank you so much. Is
Of
there
course, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be here with you ladies today and sharing my story. I appreciate your support so much, and thank you for what you're doing for others who are experiencing domestic violence as well.
yeah? Is there anything we haven't asked you about today that was like really on your heart that you would like to speak about?
That's a good question, Tammy. I don't think so. Stay tuned. Um,
We will
Stay
stay tuned.
tuned and just keep supporting those people in your life that might, I guess the only thing I would say is support people in your life that you feel like they're in a situation where they could be experiencing abuse, but maybe they're not forthcoming in talking to you. Um, it's very humbling and it's embarrassing to be in that place and you're exactly right when you say that it spans across all ethnic backgrounds, all socioeconomic statuses. It does not matter. Abuse is everywhere, and it's really a difficult thing to be honest about that with people. So try to create a safe space for someone in your life if you feel like they're experiencing that. And maybe just plant little seeds along the way and come along and water it, put a little fertilizer on there. Eventually, you'll create this safe garden where people feel like they can come and share with you. And then maybe you can help them, get to a better place too.
What a beautiful
Amazing.
visual. Plant seeds
Yes,
and it become a
that's
garden. Beautiful
such good
visual. Oh,
advice.
thank you so much, Victoria. We cannot express how much gratitude we have for you being here today, for you taking time out of your day to come and join us. So just thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I echo that. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. We just love it was so lovely to meet you and I just can't wait to dive into the program and the book and we're just very grateful. Thank you very much for
Oh,
being here.
you're welcome, Melissa. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the hard work that you're doing and spreading this. I sincerely appreciate you. You
Bye,
too.
Victoria.
Goodbye.
Bye. Holy moly. We could have talked to her for hours.
Oh, I have so many questions that I didn't
I,
ask because I was like, I don't. Well, and first I was like, what going through my head, like I really wanted to ask more, like more intimate
more
questions, but I
detailed.
was like, it's one of those things where you put someone on a speak and people are like, what's your intimate life? I'm like, I'm on a platform right now, like I don't want to talk about that. You
What?
know what I mean? Like that's a pretty personal question. But I'm like, obviously I'm not gonna necessarily ask.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I just like, there were so many things that she said that I loved when she said the power and the pause. I was like, oh, damn, that's going to be some sort of social media post right there because that is a powerful thing to say. I can't believe what she went through. That is the most unreal. And I like, and yeah, like there's so many levels of it. It's so hard to have a conversation like this where you know that there's so many more details and you want to go into every single detail. We could talk for hours, which is why she's written a book and she has her the Hulu program that we can go to and watch because then we can dive into those details there. And I really hope that our listeners do that. I just wow. You know what I wanted to ask her that I really like? I do want to have a conversation with somebody about this at some point, without being negative towards churches or religion or belief systems.
I'll do it.
Well, and it's so
Sorry.
funny because I love our combination that way, but I'm like, I wanted to ask her like the church's involvement and how the church perpetuated that and in just those belief systems and the things that she's talked about before, like there was kind of a when she said the steps that led to this, I'm like, oh man, like there's so much. We could have gone so much. But one other thing that jumped out at me, I'm sorry, I'm just like on a big tangent here.
Okay.
One of the things that jumped out at me that I was like, we just talked to Rachel last week and we were so devastated when we found out her mom's reaction to her abuse.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example of what Rachel's mom should have done.
I was gonna say that same thing. Yeah.
What she did, I was like, yes, mama. Like when she was like, I will shave my head. I'm like, yes, mama. That is the appropriate response
Yeah.
to finding something like that out. That right there. Whew. Gosh,
Absolutely.
I'm grateful. I'm
I
so
know.
grateful she spent her morning with us. Sorry, I just took that and ran with it.
No. I was gonna say the same thing. I was thinking that exact same thing, and I might just send Victoria an email later, but just to saying that because I just that is exactly how a parent should react, and I can't imagine, like I said on there, like the weight of knowing that you were being abused, you were being physically abused, you were being sexually abused, you were being emotionally abused, you were being controlled, you are losing everything that is you, and then to find out that it's your children too, like it's. Like as a parent, you think I can take it. And not that I've experienced that specifically, but whenever hard things come, you're like, I will take the brunt of this. Don't let my children see this. Yeah. And then to know that your children are seeing it too, and you couldn't protect them. And I don't hold that on Victoria. Like I'm just trying to imagine how heartbreaking that would have been for her. Do you know what I mean? Like,
And-
that's what I'm trying to say here. It's just, I can just only attempt to imagine how heartbreaking that would have been for her.
And what is the first step? You're like, oh shit, now what? It's not just me. Shit. Like, and you're like, for her to come out of that, I just think the strength and resiliency that she had to get to, and the steps that she had to take, like to be in that position, to be so disoriented and worn down and just empty. And then to find out it's happening to your children, and then to take that and start crawling out of it with your kids on your back. It's like,
in your belly and on your back.
Right? Like to crawl out of that and to get to the place that she is now, I realize is like, it's hard to capture that in a 1 hour episode, but that process, what she had to go through and what she did to get there is just absolutely, I am just in awe of her, and she's right. You have a choice to make. You have a choice to make to stay. It's like crabs in a bucket, right? Like trying to climb out, something's pulling you down. Like she had a choice to make, follow the bottom of the bucket and just stay there, or like grapple her way out. And she grappled her way, and now she's helping other people. And I'm just, yes. Yeah. Like, what a shining example of what you can do. The power of when you take your pain and your suffering and your heartache and turn it into a momentum that can help change the world is, she's doing it.
Yep.
So incredible.
100%. Yeah. All right.
Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
So we say thank you. Thank you to everybody for joining us today. If you have any comments, questions, conversation, DM us or leave them in the comments of any of these, any of the socials that we post this on, and keep the conversation going. If it calls to you, we're here for it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammy